Shadows and lights. Last time I showed how light falls on a sphere depending on the light source's position. A sphere is a very simple element, but today we'll practice on more complicated objects. First, however, we'll start with geometric shapes. I select the light source and try to reproduce the shape of the cast shadow. The shape of the object determines the shadow it will cast. The height of the light source determines whether it will be long or short. When coloring objects, I blend 4 shades of gray together. The lightest color is where the object is closest to the light source. The farther away from the light source, the darker the color will be. You don't always have to blend colors. You can also paint the object and add its shadow, which will also add depth to the elements in the coloring page. Let's move on to more complex objects. Notice how the light will refract and where the shadows will appear. If you're having trouble with this, it's a good idea to observe the elements around you. Remember, no one is born with artistic talent. Everyone starts out poorly. It's important to practice and have the will to develop. Even in art school, they'll put a bowl of fruit in front of you, and you have to capture its realism and lighting. No one can draw that off the top of their head. So to become good, you have to practice and practice. How do you draw an airplane's shadow? It's simply the same shape of the airplane shifted by the angle of the light source. The same applies to other objects. The chimney on the roof will have its own shape. The light will refract onto the stairs, and the shadow will reflect its shape. Oops, I was a bit rushed here. Of course, the wall next to the stairs ends, and the shadow should break up properly there too. If you're still interested in how to paint shadows on other complex objects, you can watch this video. Otherwise, skip to the next section. If you'd like to practice on your own, the cards I used in the video are available for download on my website. My practice workbook is also available on Amazon. If you'd like to practice more objects, you'll find plenty there. So far, I've discussed how to smooth a shadow when there's only one light source. But what about when there are multiple light sources? The illustration shows a cube and 3 light sources: a lamp on the ceiling, a lamp on the wall, and a lamp on a table. See what the shadow of such an element will look like. The shadow will be darker where it overlaps from different light angles. Let's practice. I've prepared an illustration for you, reproduced on a piece of paper for a specific purpose. I want you to practice and test your shading skills. In the first illustration, I want you to use the light coming through the window as your light source, and in the second, use a desk lamp as your source. Color it in your own style or not, and practice with light and shadow. For example, you can see how I did it. When I looked at it a second time, I noticed that the second illustration could use a shadow behind the lamp. I'm excited to see your versions. Colors. I don't want to bore you with color theory. If you're curious about primary and secondary colors or warm and cool colors, you'll find plenty of articles on the subject. Rather, I'd like to show you how to find colors, palettes, and how to color even without knowledge of color theory. Online, for example, on Pinterest, you'll find a multitude of color palettes you can use when coloring. It's a good idea to experiment at first and see what interesting results you can achieve using just 5 colors. Palette generators are also available, for example, for Ohuhu markers. You can also find one on my website. Another way to find a color palette is through inspiration. Save paintings by other artists. They often share the color codes they use in their work. Another possible method, probably the simplest, is to color from nature. Choose colors you recognize from the world around you. If you have a striped sweater in your closet, make it, use your imagination, and transfer your ideas to paper. A quick recap. Remember that coloring is supposed to be fun. If you feel pressured, lack inspiration, or overwhelmed, give yourself a break and return to coloring when you feel you need it. If you want to get better at coloring for yourself, practice, observe, and test new techniques. This will help you develop, and over time, you'll see a difference. Finally, and perhaps most importantly for me, never compare yourself to others. Everyone develops at their own pace. If you enjoy my videos, I'd be incredibly grateful if you'd leave a comment and like this post.